Hey y'all, thank you for joining me for another video. It's a little early. I figured this weekend is going to be another busy weekend, so I figured I would do one tonight on Friday night. That way I can get it uploaded and you'll have all weekend to have a chance to look at it. Um, so, first of all, I want to thank y'all for joining me on this journey since December 26th. It's been an awesome journey to go through. Um, People call me brave for sharing my experiences and what I've been going through on YouTube like this and Rumble. But it's, I don't feel brave. Um, I just had it on my heart from literally day one to do something like this. Um, I remember my daughter had come over that day after everything went down on March 10th, and we were talking, and I said that I want to do something like this to help others. Um, if nothing else, show them that it's not too late to leave your abuser. Because I was married for 32 years before I finally got the courage to leave. And I'm proof that it's not too late. I mean, my daughter, bless her heart, made me cry when she said this. Um, After the divorce was final, or right around when the divorce was going to be final, she said that she was so proud of me and that I am the epitome of what what it's never too late means. And I also said that I was going to write a book about this, especially touching on the part where I heard from so many sides that as the Christian wife, I should stay with him and pray for him, be the obedient wife, and he'll eventually come around. Um, y'all, I heard so much of that on so many things that I looked up and books I read. Um, I'm starting to contemplate how I'm going to write it, but I am going to write that book. It may take me another couple of years because I'm going through a lot, and writing a book, having to relive everything, it takes a lot out of you. But um, just know that even if you've been in an abusive relationship 35 years, even 40 years, if you want to leave, don't leave. Don't ever think it's too late. It's never too late to make yourself safe, to put yourself first. Because I know that, as a mom, moms always put our kids first, everybody else first except us. And that's not necessarily a good thing because, you got to be there for your kids, especially. And I wasn't there for my kids. I thought I was putting them first by trying to keep the marriage and not be having them have to deal with a divorce when they were young, and when actually I wasn't, because they'd have been much better off having to deal even with a messy divorce, even if it had turned out messy, which it wouldn't have, but let's say it did. It would have been so much better for them than it would have been so much better for them to have to deal with that than to deal with all the abuse that they received. In addition to the trauma, they were getting double trauma. Trauma to them directly because of the emotional abuse that my ex was giving them, but also the secondary trauma of watching their mother being abused. I don't know whether I blocked it out or just with everything going on, I don't remember everything. But my daughter especially talked about how she remembers certain things that happened that she and my oldest saw. This was back before my youngest was born. And to think that they saw that kills me. Because I never wanted that to happen, because I saw my mother's abuse. And to have my kids, to realize that my kids saw me being abused, I didn't do them any favors. In fact, I did them more harm than good. If I could go back in time, I'd have left. I'd have stayed gone back in '07 when I had called the cops on him the first time for physical abuse on me. I'd have stayed gone. I would not have gone to confront him on what he did, because that was the biggest mistake I made. Because had I not gone to confront him on what he did, I would not have had the chance to believe his lies. Because he put up a good front, y'all. He put up a good act. But I didn't listen to my gut. Because my gut told me, no, these are all lies. But I wanted so bad to believe that they were true. Because ultimately I didn't want to be divorced, because I felt like I was a failure if I got a divorce. When divorce is not a failure, especially in this case. When there's abuse, the best thing you can do, especially if you have children, is divorce the abuser. Because even if the abuser doesn't abuse them and just abuses you, the kids are still abused because they're still traumatized, because they see their parent being abused. They see one parent abused and another parent doing the abusing. And that's traumatizing. So if you're in a situation right now where you want to stay because you don't want to put your kids through a divorce, they're better off going through a divorce than going through something like this. Trust me on that. My kids will tell you that. So what I want to talk about today is attaching. in doing all the research that I've been doing lately for my nonprofit about trauma and abuse, the one thing that comes up so often is attachment. Um, what you either, what's called, what in layman's terms, over attach, or you don't attach at all, or very little, or it takes a lot for you to attach. Um, and with over attachment, it's that you're just wanting attachment so bad. You're wanting love because you never had that love. That anyone that um, even remotely comes close to paying any attention to you, you latch on. And I did that. Um, because I was always seeking love and approval from my biological father. And I never really got it. The only time I got any kind of approval was when I was doing something that served his purposes. Um, as I've stated before, he was never inappropriate with me as far as sexually or anything like that. He was upstanding where that was concerned. But he was very, very self centered, um, narcissistic to an extent. And it was always out, he was always out for what someone could do to serve him. And that's what I was. He was able to manipulate me into getting things done for him, doing stuff that he could do himself. Yeah, I did his groceries. He could have easily done his groceries. It's not that hard to do groceries, especially with him because he bought the same things every 2 weeks. Never really changed in anything he bought. So he could have done it himself. And I did his laundry. Y'all, that was gross. Um, and I did everything that, you know, a wife would do except the sex part. And that's how he was. And I was doing all of this because I wanted his approval. I wanted him to love me. I don't think I've mentioned before that in my younger days, when I was in my late 20s, um, or no, I'm sorry, I was mid 30s, I went to school to become a cosmetologist. That had been my dream, and I wanted to go. And so I had the opportunity, so I took it. And I was going to school to get my cosmetology license. Um, he was helping me. A big part of the help, he was picking me up in the morning, bringing my oldest to school, bringing me to school, then coming back, picking him up, then picking me up in the afternoon. I mean, he was super supportive, so I thought. Um, it was all in order to get me to do more for him because I owed him. And because it was a status thing. Oh, look at my daughter. She's going to beauty school. She's going to do wonders. Because I don't mean to brag, but I was talented. I'm talented when it comes to hair. And I was doing great with it. Um, everything was pretty much coming so easy to me. And during when I was going to school from kindergarten through 12th grade, school never came easy to me. And yet this was coming easy to me, almost like second nature. But when it came to him maybe having to sacrifice a little bit, because just when I was like maybe 2 months shy of being able to try for my license, 2 months shy of finishing all my hours, my ex got a job, which that's a whole other story in itself. That's convenient. Um, he got a job, which meant that we had nobody to stay home with our daughter, who was at the time 3 years old. So I had asked my biological father, can you watch your granddaughter? Just a couple of hours. Um, and then he's like, well, no, I don't want to watch her. It'd be too hard. I'm like, she's 3 years old. She's really good. She plays by herself. She's pretty independent. Shouldn't be that much of an issue. And he refused. And so I ended up having to quit school. So therefore, he was no longer proud of me. Because he was probably proud of me because he was seeing dollar signs. Because I'm from the South, and being from there, where I was from, there's always something going on where a woman needs a hairdresser, and women down there are willing to pay a lot of money to get their hair done. So I could have made a decent living with it. And so I lost his approval. Not that I ever had it, because any pride he had in me was for his own selfish gain. And I never got his approval for anything, and so I was always seeking approval. And that's why half the guys I dated, I'll look back and I'm like, oh my word, you know, how could I have ever even considered these guys? Because most of these guys were horrible. Uh, and it was because something as simple as they paid attention to me. Because I didn't have much of an idea of self-worth. Um, I didn't think I was all that, that I was no special thing. So having attention from a guy was like a big, huge thing. And so I would immediately just attach to him. In my mind, oh, they're, the love of my life. I love them. And I was already planning my wedding before we even committed to even dating regularly. In my mind, that's what we were doing. And so, of course, I lost a lot of guys when they realized I was wanting to be serious and they weren't. Um, and all of these guys, with the exception of one, treated me like crap. And I would deal with it because I wanted attention. And it was the last guy I dated before my ex. He treated me well. He made it known he wasn't up for commitment, but he liked going out. And I was okay with it because I figured, well, he's honest. Which he was totally honest. And I figured I could change his mind. Well, no. He wasn't ready for a commitment. I was. And it became evident. But we parted on very good terms. It just, we weren't meant to be together. But he at least taught me that I deserved that what it felt like, how good it felt to be treated well. Then I met my ex, and y'all, my ex was lavishing it on, um, big time. You know, um, everything seemed to fall in place with us. He seemed very attentive, very loving, very caring, supportive. I, he and I were talking when I was raped, and we hadn't even gone out on our first date yet. And when I told him I was raped, he was wanting to find the guy and beat the guy up. And I'm thinking, okay, this is a pretty decent guy, because he was wanting to protect me, and I wanted a protector because my father never protected me. Um, Part of why I was raped was because my father never protected me. And so to have a man that wanted to protect me, oh, I latched on with everything. Even though part of me didn't want to, I was scared to. I was scared to hope that a guy that was so good looking wanted me, whom I felt was not good looking. Um, it just, I overattached. It was like I was starving for attention. And I got a lot of attention from him at first. He was very attentive, very loving, very caring, very protective, doing the little things that most of us women like, the little romantic stuff. And even after our first child was born, um, there was tension. We were going through a lot. We had gone through homelessness, living with his mother, which was a nightmare. Um, all kinds of stuff. And there was a lot of stress and a lot of fighting. There was still that connection, and he was still romantic when it came down to it. But then I started going through depression. Um, Looking back, I think it was partially postpartum, um, because I was going through a whole gamut of things. I don't know if really it was postpartum, but it was depression, and then dealing with the recovering from the rape, because uh, he and I got married um, the same year I was raped. And so I was still going through that, getting over that, and, you know, going through the trauma, going through depression, from having the postpartum depression, and it just never went away because I didn't know what it was, didn't know to even that, anything. Um, and so, of course, I was going through a lot, and I was going through bulimia. Um, and I got hard to deal with. I will admit that. But that's when things started getting kind of tough. And I was grasping for anything to keep him. And I'm looking back now and seeing how hard I attached to him just because I got attention and appeared to have the acceptance of a man. Um, And now I'm getting to the point to where I'm afraid to even think of dating. I mean, I've been divorced for a year. We've been apart for well over a year and a half, like a year and 8 months almost. And, people ask me, so are you going to date? Or, I don't want to date. I'm scared. I'm scared out of my mind. Um, because I trusted him and I gave him my whole heart. I mean, I attached in all the wrong ways. I got to the point where I wasn't trusting anyone. Um, Once the scales, as I say, was starting to come off my eyes, I realized that, I can't trust him. Who can I trust? So I started internalizing everything and not telling anybody anything. And of course, that only made it worse because all of that was festering. As I've said before in previous videos, I've I didn't start talking until he started bad mouthing me across all social media, um, and bad mouthing me to friends of his right in front of me. He would bad mouth me to one of his best friends that he had since grade school. And because he thought that would upset me, um, that he's bad mouthing me because he felt that I cared about my reputation. When, quite honestly, I had known this guy for about the same length of time as my ex did. Um, I may have known him a few years less, but basically we've known each other for the same length of time as he knew my ex. And so I figured, well, if he's stupid enough to believe all of these obvious lies after he's known me for so long, that's on him. That's how I felt. And I don't think he believed it because um, I could hear over the phone, I could hear his part of the conversation. And the friend's part, I could hear the friend talking. And the way I could tell he likely didn't believe it. But, I was of the opinion, well, he knows me, so if he honestly thinks all that's true, let him. It's no skin off my back. And so when he started bad mouthing me over the internet and to others, that's when I started talking. Because I wanted to make sure my story was out there in case anything did happen to him, like he got stupid and tried to uh try to make it look like he attempted suicide just to make me look bad, that doubt would be out there. And so that's when I started talking. Didn't mean I trusted people, because I didn't. um I just started talking because I wanted to put my side out there in case any investigation or anything happened, and they talk to other people say, well, you know, we heard this and we've seen this, and stuff like that. And even after everything went down on March 10th of last year, it I didn't talk to anybody about it, didn't mention it anywhere. Admittedly, once I started filing for the divorce, I couldn't talk about it on social media because, these things, you anything you say on social media is blasted all over the world. So I didn't want to come back to haunt me, so I didn't say anything. But I didn't talk about it to others in general because I didn't trust people. So I went from, quote, over attaching because I was so desperate to feel love and to feel acceptance, to now I'm finding it hard to trust anyone. And I have a very tight circle of friends and family. Um, my family I trusted from the beginning simply because they're my family and I know them, and I knew that none of them would use anything against me. And my mom asked me about a month after everything happened if I was comfortable. She waited a month to ask me. And then she said, look, it's been a month, things are settling down. Do you mind if I tell my siblings? Because my mom's one of 8 kids. And I said, yeah, you can go ahead and tell them. Thank you for waiting. And I got overwhelming support from them. From literally that day, I got messages from 3 of my aunts telling me how proud they were of me and, just words of encouragement and support. And so my family, I trusted. But anybody else outside of that, no. And even now, I have a very tight circle of friends. I mean, y'all, a seriously tight circle. Because it's still hard for me to trust. Yeah, I tell people my story, even if I don't know them. If the subject comes up or something, I'll bring it up. Because it's not something I'm ashamed of. I want to bring awareness out there. And the only way to bring it out there is to talk about it. But as far as an inner circle of people I trust, I keep it real tight. Because now I am scared. I'll admit it. I am scared out of my mind to trust strangers with my feelings and my heart and my vulnerabilities. But what scares me the most is trusting another man. I've been praying about it since almost day one, that if God wants me to be married again, that he's going to have to give me the strength and the courage, because I'm in kind of like a conundrum, because there's one part of me that wants to know what it's like to feel loved, truly loved, to be loved as much as I love. And there's another part of me, a big part of me, that's scared out of my ever-loving mind to want to open myself up like that. Because, tell you what, my ex, I think my experience with him has now prevented me from ever attaching too quickly again. I can't picture myself attaching quickly at all. If I were to even consider dating again, it would have to be somebody that I've already known for a few years. I couldn't picture myself just meeting somebody randomly and wanting to date them. Um, that's why one young gal that um, I kind of taken under my wing, she's like one of my many adopted daughters. And she's like, oh, but I'm going to have to play Cupid on you. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm good. I'm good being single, baby. And it's, truth be told, is because I'm scared. Because anybody she would try to introduce me to, I wouldn't know until I met them. So, meeting somebody I don't know at all, I mean, I trust her judgment. She's a pretty good judge of character for the most part, and I trust that she would not introduce me to anyone other than someone who's decent, because she loves me so much and I love her. But just like, my daughter wouldn't introduce me to anyone that she wasn't confident was a good fit for me or a good person that would treat me right. Um, it's just the thought of even going out coffee to somebody I don't know. No. And then, I talked about this in one of my first few videos. A guy that I'd known from an organization that we both happen to belong to um, messaged me over Facebook one day, wanted to know if I wanted to go drink coffee or have a bite to eat. And because I knew him through this organization, and this organization, the people are pretty upstanding, I figured, well, okay, I'll take the risk. Well, y'all, we hadn't even gone out yet. We were still just talking back and forth, likes, dislikes, that sort of thing, when he propositions me. And I'm like, really? We haven't even gone out on a first date yet? Haven't even had a cup of coffee together? And you're already propositioning me? Delete, block, I'm done. And so that did not help my security setting. Um, you know, and it's also partially because I don't trust myself. I don't trust myself to make a good decision on men anymore. Quite honestly, truth be told, I could probably make a better decision on men now than I ever could before, but it scares me. And, you know, and that's what happens with trauma is that you either attach too much or not at all, or not enough. And if you're someone who's dating someone that has had trauma, whether it be from abuse or uh, being attacked or being in foster care or anything, and they're keeping you at arm's length, don't take it personal because it's not you. It's them protecting themselves from deep hurt, deep, deep pain, because trauma affects you to your bones. And I say that literally. I'm not just saying that figuratively. um, it affects your body. It rewires your brain, and it affects you to your inner core, to literally your body. Um, Case in point, way before I left my ex, I was I had started going to chiropractic care, going regularly, trying to do the exercises regularly when my mind would remind me, and I was not missing any appointments, and it was an uphill battle for the doctor to get my spine and my hips realigned. I leave my ex and start going to therapy to deal with all of this trauma. Lo and behold, now my scoliosis is literally almost non existent. I mean, it's not cured, there's really no cure for scoliosis, but he's aligned my spine so much now where you can barely tell I have any scoliosis. And that's because I don't have the stress I did. I mean, I still have a lot of stress. Life has stress. And I still have the stress dealing with the trauma and stuff, recovering from it. But I'm not in fight or flight mode like I was constantly with my ex. I mean, I lived literally in fight or flight mode every waking moment. And I'm realizing now that even in my sleep, I was in fight or flight because I would have to always be prepared for him to blow off, uh, go off the deep end for the stupidest things. And so I was literally in fight or flight mode pretty much 24/7. So of course my body's going to be always so tense, it's not going to be able to be adjusted. And afterwards, now a year and a half out, I've improved dramatically. I mean, there's still a long way to go because, my spine and my body was all messed up. But I'm a lot better than what it was. And that's the point I'm trying to make, is that trauma goes into the bones, literally. It affects the entire body. Um, it affects your body. You'll have body aches as if you have a bad cold, but you don't. You don't have a fever, you don't have anything else, but you have the severe body aches. That's because of trauma. And so someone who's been through all of that is scared to go through that again when they're finally starting to heal. So they keep people, even ones that they truly love, at arm's length because it's like, no, I'm not going through that again. Because, and that's how I am. I mean, I had an appointment with my therapist this morning talking over some stressors right now that I'm going through, normal stuff, but it's heightened because in this stuff that I'm going through, I'm scared of losing my independence. Scared of having to need help from my mother or my sister. And though they have never done anything but been supportive of me and never have given me once anything other than support or love, especially in what I've been going through. I mean, I know right now if I were to call my sister and say, "Look, I have nowhere to go. I don't have money for rent next month. I need a place to stay." Y'all, they'd be hiring movers tomorrow to move my stuff to her house. um, but it's just the idea. And by the way, I'm fine financially. I'm able to pay rent next month. It was just um, an example. But it's just the idea of I have fought so hard for my independence, and to be as strong as I am, even though I still feel like I'm weak. But in looking back, I see I'm strong. Um, I have fought so long to come this far. I don't want to lose all of that. And so, if somebody you're dating or even married to is fighting attachments, is keeping you at arm's length, don't take it personal, because it's not you. It's that they're scared. What to do if that's happening. I'm still going through this myself, and I'm not even talking to anyone, so I can't say exactly what to do. But what I've heard experts say is just love them through it. Be there. Just show them that you're there no matter what. Also encourage them to get therapy if they're not getting therapy. Therapy has done wonders. I don't regret the money I'm spending on therapy. Not for a millisecond. So if they're not getting therapy, push them to get therapy. And in the meantime, if they are getting therapy, ask the therapist what you can do. Because the therapist would know what that person needs. And just be there. Support them, love them, show them that no matter how hard they try to push you away because they're scared, show them that you're still there no matter what, because that's what they need. I know that's what I'm going to need, because if ever there's someone that comes up that gives me that makes me feel like it's worth trying to muster up the courage to date them, it's going to take a whole lot of bravery, and it's going to take a whole lot of patience on their part, because I will be going back and forth with them. I know it. I'll be going back and forth from wanting to attach to pushing them away, because it's so scary. Because like I just said, I have fought so long and hard to be the independent person that I am. Y'all, I have come so far in just such a short time. And I fought tooth and nail to get this far. So I don't want to lose it. So even the thought of needing someone even for something small, that's scary. I'm learning to ask for help, I'm also learning to set up boundaries and say, look, I can't do it today. I gotta rest or whatever. I'm exercising that muscle called no. Um, but it's scary. And if you're someone that's going through this, don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself grace. Um, I'm learning that too because I'm my own worst enemy. I'm the hardest on myself more than I am on anybody else. Um, just take it one step at a time and give yourself grace and know that no matter what battles you face on this side of the trauma, any battles that you face on this side of the trauma are well worth it and way better than any battles on that side while you're in that trauma. Y'all have a wonderful week. Stay blessed. And as always, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel, like the videos, and please, 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 please share these videos so I can help more people in hopes that they won't go through the horrible times that I did. Y'all have a good week. Bye.